Go now. Hi everyone, Tonia Reeves, Australia's cowgirl medium here for Animal Dreaming Radio Show, and I'm really excited to have on board today Julie Rennie. Hi Julie. And I'm like,
hello Tonia.
I'm introducing you like an old friend because Julie and I do go back to we worked out around the 2013 when we first met. So I apologise for not introducing you properly because it's like for me catching up with an old friend and we haven't caught up for a very long time. So I'm really excited to be able to have this opportunity to interview you in a professional way and also chat about your awesome book, The Harmonized Soul. So this is great. I've had it and personally read it, and it's got some really, really great insights. So I'm really excited to find out your journey and what brought about this book, Julie, because I know it's going to be an amazing share. So please fire away.
Well, let's start with the biggest question of all. My goodness. Well, what brought me here was suffering, actually. I had lost everything I owned. This is going back quite a while, and really suffered. And then on top of that, I lost a great love. So I was in a world of pain and I couldn't understand why life was so hard. Didn't matter what I tried, I just struggled. And I was into a lot of healing arts, but it was like things just stirred inside of me. My self-judgment, my self-loathing from not being successful in life, my measurement against other people. What I didn't realise was I was actually being triggered into my awakening or my ascension journey. Now, what that really means is where you get triggered into living from a higher field of love and starting to make love your life's purpose rather than striving to acquire things. You start realizing that what's inside of you is very important, not only to yourself, but in terms of what you can give and deliver to other people in the world. So the journey of ascension is really about becoming loving, harmonizing your mind, your body, and your soul with love, and being the example for other people to live by. That's what the journey is all about. And when I stepped onto this journey, it started with just literally sitting on a beach for hours and listening to what was really going on inside of me. Because let's face it, if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, then you're going to struggle in life and you're going to be looking outside of yourself for validation. So the journey within became more important to me than the journey on the outside.
That is awesome. Love it. And you've got so many tips and sharing, and also you've got like exercises. So you've included those within the book, which is fantastic. So it's not just about learning and having a read and going, oh, that's really great. It's like you've got in here, try for yourself, do these suggestions, and
Yes.
It really helps you uncover any blockages that because we all have them. And I mean, I don't think we're ever in that perfect space where we don't have things that are holding us back in areas that can be sometimes quite surprising when we dig deep.
It's really interesting, what I call three-dimensional life, the life you see all around you. There's such a focus on that being, you have to be successful to be happy. But I coach and mentor quite a lot of people, including Olympic athletes or very successful business people. And sometimes they strive and achieve, but it doesn't bring them to love themselves. And so they feel empty. So that emptiness is really a bit of a sign to start looking at how you're living your life. Are you living your life in a loving way? And are you ready to resonate and live from a higher field of love? So for me, the answer to most problems in life is to return yourself back to a state of love. So imagine you get triggered. We've all got these triggers. So you mentioned we all have these things going on. Actually, most of them we inherit. Right?
True.
Because when you're born as pure love, and you enter into this life really from this beautiful field of love, and then you inherit the opinions of a family. You go to school and you're taught a whole lot of things. Your community tells you to do things in a certain way. You are told, don't eat this, don't eat that, eat this, when your instinct is not to eat it. So at a very young age, our connection to our soul and our connection to our instincts actually gets taught out of us. And so part of the journey to return yourself to love is to connect back to your inner voice and your instincts and make decisions based upon yourself rather than trying to fit in with the rest of the world. And really, every thought you have will either be loving or not. So rather than make this a very complicated journey, what if it was just a journey to observe whether your thoughts, your feelings, or your reactions were loving or not? So if you start just saying, is that thought loving? No, that's not loving. How can I make that thought more loving? That's what the journey is all about. And then you'll notice you get triggered. I call them loaded guns. A family person might trigger you. Christmas is so you want
That's
those same triggers fired again and again and again. This time at Christmas, if you get triggered, instead of blaming the person who's triggering, look within and go, what is going on in me? And you'll notice within yourself, you might be feeling, oh, I'm rejected, I'm disappointed. And so then you can start realizing how to undo that gun or unload that gun. And when you start undoing all the triggers that you have within you, more love will reside in you and you'll start shining that love out. And then the people who are triggering you won't trigger you anymore. So it takes a very brave person, or I call it a very brave soul, to start putting down the blames, the hurts, the resentments, the judgments that, let's face it, keep repeating and repeating and repeating. If you are brave enough to face what's within you and understand that you inherited it anyway, it's not really who you are. Who you are is your field of, that's who you are. That's how you were born. You were born as this pure love. I get excited when I talk about love, as you can tell. I'm almost crying because that's the truth.
Beautiful.
The truth is that you come in here as pure love. So you come from a higher field of love and you descend into your body. And when we look at babies, who doesn't see love? We all just go, oh, it's so love. You're not thinking, that baby's judging me. They don't like my hair. I've got too many wrinkles. They think I should have Botox. Oops, I didn't colour my hair properly. They're not, you don't even imagine a baby having any thoughts. You just become love around them. Isn't that evidence enough that love is ever present? But as I said, then you start inheriting. So what if your true purpose in life was that you're on a mission to help make this planet a more loving place? So instead of thinking it's just about your pain and what you're going through, if you can remember that you are the love and that you're experiencing these things to know how to turn them into love. So instead of feeling it's just about the pain, you take the pain, you go, wow, how can I make this more loving? What is this feeling? Is this a feeling? Is it a thought? Is it a belief? Is it loving or not? And so in the book is a whole lot, I call them tools. It's not really a course. Ascension is not a course. Ascension is where you rise above. And I know you talk about rising above a lot, Tonia, and it's beautiful. You rise above the pain and take a higher view of it, or a more loving view, and say, how can I turn that into love? Now, I have to tell you, that takes courage.
And I'd imagine it takes a few goes too, wouldn't it? It's like, as humans, we want it to be instantly fixed, whereas if you look at the gift of somebody triggering something within you, you know, that gift to enable you to dig deeper is
Yes.
actually something that would be amazingly positive for
And
us personally.
And so when you actually take that gift and realize you're the gift because you've
Mhm.
chosen to experience this so that you can look at it and go, that's not loving. How can I make this more loving? I look at
Mm.
great examples on the planet. Nelson Mandela, what a wonderful example. Now, he was in prison for about 35 years. Don't quote me on the figure, but it was a long time. And
Was.
even though he didn't have freedom for himself personally, the gift was that he created freedom for a whole country.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very powerful piece of love. And so
Mm.
we might not think we are here to do those big things, but every single person is really important. And every little piece of something unloving that you and the people watching, every little piece you clean up is celebrated at higher levels of love because
Mhm.
it's tough. It's hard work. This is a pretty hard dimension.
It is.
Some unloving attitudes and templates, I call them. So, yeah, what if your mission was to get in there and clean these up? So how do you clean them up? Okay, well, you have to find a way to bring it back to love. And I guess that's why this is not really a course, it's a journey. And that's why we've called the book The Journey Back to Love. What's the prize? The prize is living in harmony. And I
Mm.
mean, living in harmony. You might, you might, it's just incredible how, I'll talk about that a little bit later if we've got time, but living as a harmonized soul is very gentle and you just don't get triggered because all the triggers are gone. So I call it cleaning up your energy. If you were to imagine inside of you, you are a ball of energy. And honestly, that energy is loving or not. It's like a light bulb with a dimmer switch on it. And if the
Mm.
dimmer switch is down low and you're feeling heavy and flat or miserable or disappointed or dejected, your light's not going to shine very bright. Or
True.
yourself, other people. So that it doesn't matter how you can. I have a counselling background. You can pro something for hours, but until that person returns themselves back to love and turns that light on, no forcing forgiveness will work. You'll think you've forgiven in your mind, but you won't
Yeah.
have forgiven in your heart. Whereas if you can turn that unloving practice into love, you won't even need to forgive because you'll understand that it was part of the journey to clean up something on the planet that's unloving.
Beautifully said. I love that. Your analogies are awesome, Julie, because you make it, you simplify in what sometimes people get caught up in or feeling that things are complicated.
Yes. So let me remind you again, you descend here to a lower frequency of love. We have love on the planet. It's just not unconditional, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Do you want to
Yeah.
unconditional? Your partner. Well, unless you give me the best roses on Valentine's Day and take me out to the best restaurant, I won't think you love me. That's conditional love. I'll
Mm.
help you do this project, but gee, at the end of it, you better reward me because I'll have worked hard for it. That's conditional
Mm.
love. Unconditional love is when someone does something to you that's quite hurtful, but you know that they've done that because they're not feeling good about themselves, and you rise
Mm.
above it and love them regardless, asking for nothing in return. That's what unconditional love is. And what's interesting is people can be loved by other people but feel very, very lonely.
Mm.
And people who have depression have a lot of people around them who love them, but it doesn't matter because they don't love themselves in that time frame. So
Mm.
once again, the greatest form of love is the love you give yourself and the love you give other people. And I guess that's why, and this is a bit of a sidestep, but for some of you people listening, it won't make any sense, but for some it might. There's this concept of great love. We are searching for our other half, our one true love, the person, right? It's coded within us. And so, you know, some people say, oh, you can love lots of people, and that is true. But we know deep within us, we're looking for this one connection. And this connection is at a soul level. Now, some people call it twin flames. I call it twin souls. And it's the concept that your soul divides in two and you enter two bodies. Oh, it might be a bit scary for a few people to hear that. And it is a good concept, but it's a concept about true love. And if you've ever had great love, that instant drawing to a person at a soul level, that's the souls wanting to join together. Mm-hmm. Now, I experienced that and lost it because of a whole range of life factors that weren't amenable to the relationship going ahead. And that triggers this deep journey. It's actually one of the precursors to the ascension journey. It's not the only way people ascend, but it triggers within you knowing how unconditional love works. It's a relationship of absolute unconditional love and honesty and truth. It's almost like being in a confessional around this sort of relationship where everything's just shared. So I have experienced this unconditional love, and that's honestly what triggered me into writing this book, because when it left me, I just went into this deep dive of looking at anything that didn't match unconditional love. I saw the world with a totally different understanding of love. And so if you really want to experience unconditional love, you have to rise yourself into a place of loving unconditionally. And that's the journey.
And it's something that probably for many of us, we don't consciously think of it. We don't think that's the answer.
Correct. Our love is often full of conditions. But to me, if your love is full of innuendos, expectations and conditions, it's like trying to put a round peg in a square hole. It doesn't fit and it doesn't feel right. And within us, we know it. So, look, I did lose all my wealth. I did lose this great love. I really lost my way totally in life. But I also sat and looked at everything I thought and everything I felt over a long period of time and came up with the tools that are in the book. Now, people do a lot of good healing on the planet, but if the pattern returns or the trigger gets pressed again, you might be going, but I did that rebirthing and I did that. Why is this still inside of me? What is this? So what I
That's so true.
When you really, I don't even call it doing the work. And the reason why is I want to encourage people to do this. And you have to face a lot of stuff to ascend. You have to, it's like a quickening. You just speed up the process, really. Really, we're all ascending. From the moment you're born, you are going to ascend at the end. That's what happens at the end. You are going to ascend. But wouldn't it be good to raise your vibration or raise your level of consciousness so that you live in a more of an ascended state as you go? Okay, so getting back to the cleaning. So here's what I discovered. Humans are a little bit complex. I'm sure everyone will agree.
Yep. No arguments here.
It helps if you can start to chunk or compartmentalize where the unloving pattern's coming from, because that'll help you with the tool that you grab to help you to clean the energy and return yourself to love. So the first layer I call the spiritual body. And the spiritual body is all your beliefs about the meaning of life and love. So if you have opinions, I tend to call them more opinions than beliefs. Beliefs are clusters of opinions that are just repeated and embedded deeply.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to change an opinion than a belief. So that's why I just talk with opinions. These are the opinions in your mind. So you can hold back your journey of ascension with unloving opinions from within your spiritual body. And these might be opinions that segregate people, disconnect people. Some people might have a belief that a man in a relationship should be a certain way instead of allowing the man to unfold and be who they are. And so in love relationships, we can put he needs to do this or she needs to do that. Or so that's, I call that the spiritual body. Any opinions about love. And people have opinions like love doesn't exist or love is hard to find. Right? Okay, that's what I call the spiritual body. We'll skip over that one. The big one to clean up is the mental body. Well, guess where the mental body is? Okay. So the mental body is opinions and beliefs that you might have inherited or created yourself about how the world is. And there's a lot of work out there on how to change your opinions about yourself. I tend to start with the opinions you have about yourself. I'm not smart. I'm not clever. I'm not good at anything. I'll never amount to anything. These are opinions that are unloving. Bottom line, they're unloving. And so you'll learn how to turn them into more loving opinions about yourself, because you want to reside in a field of love.
Mm-hmm.
And these opinions often you can inherit from your family as well. But the big kicker here is bringing your ego into harmony with love. Now, I have a very different take on the ego to what's popular out there. I think the ego is your best friend. And the reason why I say that is I view the ego like a gatekeeper. So the ego is a gatekeeper between you and your thoughts and a higher field of love. So if you want to reside and experience living from a higher field of love in your thoughts, the ego shows you the human attitudes that you inherited that block you from experiencing that field of unconditional love. And they are going to be things like righteousness, pride. Righteousness is wanting to be right. Being offended. Yeah, being offended is not loving.
I love that one.
Yeah, being
Very
offended
common.
is, yes. Comparing yourself to others, judgments, blames. These are all unloving attitudes of the ego. And how this was shown to me. So if you were to imagine that the gatekeeper shows you the attitude when you're triggered. It will show you the attitude, and then you're at choice. You can choose to hang on to that attitude, or you can choose to drop it. And if you drop it, the ego will open the gate and you'll be flooded with love. Your heart will be flooded with love if you drop that hurt or blame or judgment. So the journey really is every time you're triggered, you have to go, oh, what's going on in me? Oh, I want to be right here. Now, do you want to be loving or do you want to be right? How it was shown to me was I moved to this lovely coastal town on the surf coast, and I had a financial issue with a neighbour. Nothing big, it was really small. And we were having a phone discussion about this issue, and he wanted to go about resolving it in a particular way, and I could see a much simpler, quicker way to resolve it. And the end result was exactly the same. He was going to take months to do it, and I was going to take a week. And we were starting to argue the point, as people do. And I noticed within me this burn coming up from my gut, right up through my chest. And I went, oh, I'm angry. I could feel the anger coming up. And I could feel with that I was disconnecting from love. I could feel it. I could feel the gate closing. And I, in a moment of clarity, I just said to myself, what's going on inside of you? What's going on in me? And the answer was, you want to be right.
We can all relate to that one.
So I just said to myself, look, you made a choice, Julie, to live in a field of love. What are you going to do here? And so I dropped the fight, even though I knew it was right. I dropped the fight. I dropped it. I just said, drop it. And I allowed him to do it his way. That's what I mean about being unconditional. It took a lot longer to resolve the issue. Anyway, so I realised that the ego was showing me what was not loving. And that's how I realised the ego is actually your friend if you start to realise it's your friend and work with it. And this is a major part of dropping things. Now, the interesting thing is, after the issue was resolved, my neighbour was only there on weekends. It was a holiday house for him, whereas I was a permanent resident. So he would come down and stay, put his rubbish bins out and go back to Melbourne. And I would then bring his emptied rubbish bins in. Why? Because it's a neighbourly thing to do. It was a loving thing to do. Even though I didn't speak to him, I still brought his bins in. Anyway, 6 months later, I was watering my lawn on a really hot night and I saw him arrive and I started backing up with watering the lawn. I'm backing up to the front door. I dropped the hose and went inside because I just didn't want to talk to him. And he yelled out my name. I went, oh, hi. And he said, have you been bringing my bins in? I said, yes. He said, I have something for you. And he gave me this huge box of really good quality dark chocolate. Right? And I just thought, yep, dropping the fight really works. Really works. Not for the chocolates, by the way.
I was going to say, we're not going to knock them back, though.
Because I was living in a place of love, because I was showing him how to be loving, and he responded in kind. And then the next time, it just kept growing. Our friendship grew, and it grew from a heart level. Our hearts were expanding, and that was great. So that's cleaning up the ego. It's in the mental body. It's one that a lot of people tend not to face, but I can tell you that's where you can really move a lot. Then we've got the emotional body. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's powerful. No, that's all right. So that's a really powerful one. I love that.
Yes. And when you really start working with it, you'll drop things just like that. They'll just drop because you'll know that you'll want to experience that opening of the heart, which you will receive when you drop the fight. Yeah. So you've got to clean up the spiritual body. You've got to clean up the mental body. And then we have the emotional body. Now, this is the one where a lot of people weep. There's a lot people's emotional bodies get very, very cluttered because they're too frightened to feel their feelings. And if you have ancestors who have not cleaned up their emotional, if they haven't faced their emotions, you are going to inherit them. You inherit hereditary illness. You inherit unresolved emotions. And I could go on and on about this. There are so many examples of when people have cleaned this up, they've just changed their whole family line. You clean it up yourself and the family line that follows you, because families repeat stuff. This is very big, the emotional body, and cleaning up the emotional body is the fastest way to move through anything. If you can imagine waves coming ashore, the wave comes in with tremendous force and energy, and then when it pulls back, it's a lot more gentle. And nothing's left when the wave pulls back. So people get triggered and they have these feelings and they want to get rid of the feeling, or they block it. They put a lid on it and that water goes back down and then becomes very stagnant. And then another event will come along and trigger it again. So I teach people how to ride the wave of that emotion, and that's a great way to clean it up as well. And there's some great little short meditations. I've created meditations for cleaning energy that are very short because I don't want people falling asleep when they meditate. I want them actually cleaning energy.
I love
Meditation
that.
that will help you to move that energy on its way for good if you let the wave break and let the wave move. So that's cleaning up the emotional body. Then you've got the
An
physical.
example.
Oh,
Yeah.
go on.
So, no, an example, or just what came to mind as you're explaining that, is how often we see physical things, like that we're often
Yeah.
led to believe is genetic. So, oh, my mum had that, or my grandmother had that, so that's why I've got that. It might be something that's handed down in the shape of an illness or something, and we're led to believe that it's genetic. But that's something I've always questioned. If we have those beliefs the same, then is that what then manifests within us with as in an illness or something that's gone down the line, that maybe there isn't so much the true genetic form, but it's what we've carried and what we're hanging on to is the same throughout the generations that we haven't learnt to let go of.
And what I'm trying to share with you today is it's not just a belief or a thought, it's an energy sitting in the emotional body or the energy field of your body, or it's an opinion in the spiritual body. It's a belief in the family line that love is, a problem. Romeo and Juliet is the most amazing story of young love where the families were feuding. And these two beautiful young people are so in love unconditionally, but their family don't want them to be together. And so they die so that they can demonstrate how pure their love was, which ends the feuds in the families. So hereditary stuff is enormous. And most people are walking around thinking something's wrong with them. They don't realise they've inherited it. But if you inherited it, you can clean it up. I've got lots of amazing examples of people who couldn't have babies and then have had babies after they clean up the emotional body. But a really simple one is high cholesterol. A lady came to see me years ago, Karen, and Karen was quite slim. She just wanted to live with more energy. I actually had a gut feeling listening to her. Her life was very stressful. And I said, I want you to get your cholesterol tested. Have a look inside. I keep saying, look inside. And in the physical body, I say, look inside. See how those energies are affecting your health. And she said, I don't need to. I'm slim. I said, yeah, but you're under a lot of stress. Well, her cholesterol was like 9.8. Dangerously high, stroke material. She was so grateful. So her doctor put her on cholesterol-lowering drugs. 3 months later, I saw Karen and said, how's your cholesterol? She said, it's higher. I said, what? I'm not working. I said, okay, let's have a look at this. I said, how in your family line? She said it's hereditary. It's in the whole family, high cholesterol.
Yep.
I said, okay, tell me about your parents and your grandparents. How did they deal with stress? She said, oh, they're such hotheads. They are just terrible around stress. They just explode and carry on. And I went, uh-huh. So then we actually started doing some healing work on attitudes to stress and also reasons why you would even put yourself in a stressful situation. Like, why would you choose to work 14-hour days for 5 days in a row? Because it's going to affect your health. So we worked on becoming more loving, and her cholesterol came down and down and down and down. And then she worked with her doctor to minimise the tablets and started to realise that it wasn't just approaching it from one angle. You've got to approach it from a lot of different angles. The physical body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the emotional body. And the last one is what I call the etheric body. Now, the etheric body is where universal energy interacts with your energy.
Mm.
Yeah. So if you're at the ocean on a really sunny day, which a lot of us are going to be doing at the moment if we're not already, the way the sunlight sparkles on the water is mesmerizing. Well, that's etheric energy. Etheric energy feeds all of nature. If you walk in a forest of a morning where the sun's filtering through the mist and through the trees, that's etheric energy charging the earth. So, wouldn't you like to be charged with etheric energy? The thing is, though, what we put out through our aura and our chakra system, which is the cleansing system, it's sort of where you interact with this etheric energy, is it can create a blocking field. You know, when you're in a room and someone walks in and they're really moody or dark and gloomy and you feel the vibes, you haven't even met the person, you don't even know their name, but you're like, oh, you sort of back off a little bit from that person. So what they're putting out through their aura and chakra system is blocking this field of love coming in through them to feed every aspect, every cell of their body. So it's really important that you start opening up these chakras and allowing yourself to open up this force field. So these people who hang on to their hurts and resentments are creating this like a force field to protect themselves. But guess what? They're also limiting the amount of etheric energy feeding into their body. So the etheric field is for me, it's the fun field, because that's where you start to get instincts, insights. If you are open, if your force field is open and loving, you're going to get all sorts of instincts. You're going to get visions, and you're going to hear things. Some people hear things from other places, and you'll see beautiful things. Your dreams will become more beautiful. So that's the etheric body. So once again, you've really got to work on cleaning up all these areas so that you can reside in a higher field of love.
And the book is the perfect, like in amongst all that, like you capture that so well in the book. And, I know, having read it myself, it's great because you can read this and then go back to, because life is a continuation of work, and I don't think we ever perfectly have everything in, like there's, like you said earlier, it's like we do the work and then we go, hang on, I'm being triggered again. What? I thought I did that.
So I call it emptying out. You just want to be constantly emptying out. Now, some people say to me, does it ever end? Actually, I think you can actually really get close to emptying it all out, which is what ascension is. True ascension is emptying it all out. I prefer to call it the journey back to love, because to me that's softer, and it is literally, if you just keep reminding yourself, what have I got to do here to be more loving? How can I be more loving here? You will find the way. The book is not something I think you pick up and you read from start to end. The book is a journey. I think you should read a couple of pages and sit and reflect. And as you mentioned earlier, there's those sections, try it for yourself. So you'll read something and I'll prompt. Try it for yourself. Sit, have a play inside of yourself, close your eyes, see what you're thinking and feeling, and don't be frightened of that, because once you know what's there, whatever gets triggered, then you're going to learn what you can do to clean it up. And look, it might come back again and you clean it up again, and clean it up again. And cleaning things up can take a couple of minutes. It's quick. Being willing is the hard part.
Yeah, exactly. Or we might think that we're willing, but then it gets a bit hard, or we think, doing this work is a little bit tricky. But like you say, the end result, the coming back to self, the connection to love is worth it if we put in that work. And it's not massively hard work, Julie, what you're sharing and what is in the book, really.
So it's really interesting. I do coach people, but not in a traditional sense, because traditional coaching to me is you make a time, you're triggered into something, you make a time, a week later you speak to someone, it's kind of moved on from then, and then it's got to be dug up and you've got to go again. I prefer to deal with something when it's happening. If somebody starts having a panic attack, that's actually when I want to speak to you, because I can work you through it. We can find out why you're having a panic attack, what triggered it, and then you'll know next time, as soon as a little bit of a trigger, you'll have a tool to clean it up. Because to me, panic attacks is just too much information going on all at once in a person. There's mental stuff going on, there's emotional stuff going on, there's spiritual stuff going on, there's physical stuff going on, and the body goes, it's all too much. I don't know what to deal with first. So if you can understand how these things work and have a quick tool that you can grab, you're not at the mercy of needing to spend an hour in a therapy session to work something through. So this empowers the people as individuals with the quick, simple tools to clean it up as soon as it's happening. And that's how to do it more simply, but regularly.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I think people love that. No one wants to be bogged down in things. And if they can learn a simple tool that is easy and something that they can do themselves, that's power within itself.
And look, everybody's journey back to love is completely unique and completely different. And when someone says, I really know how you're feeling, no, you don't. You don't know the depths of feeling. You don't know the depths of pain that someone's going through, except that you might say, oh, I've kind of been there a bit. So, look, it's different for everyone. And one of the reasons it's different is everybody's inherited different things. Mm-hmm. The inheritance in everybody's completely different. So in some people it will be a quick process, and in others it'll be long. And it's really interesting. I was sitting with a group of women having a lovely morning tea a couple of years ago, actually, and one was saying, well, if I'm triggered, I love Reiki. And someone else said, well, I get a tarot reading. And someone else said, well, I go and do a course, or, just so many things we can do. And someone asked me, what do you do? I said, actually, what I've discovered if I'm triggered is the quickest way for me to get through something is to surrender it instead of arguing with it. Mm. The quicker I surrender it. So to me, anyone moving through depression or anxiety, or if you might be going through your ascension journey and not even know why are these things coming up. What I found was the quicker I was prepared to surrender it rather than try to work it out, rather than argue with it, the quicker I surrendered it, did a little bit of cleaning up of the energy, returning myself to love, the quicker I got through it. Mm-hmm. And the darker moments, and there can be some really dark, deep, alone moments, they began to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And so I just want to remind anybody out there who is really suffering or feeling like even through this year, well, my life hasn't got going, I haven't achieved all my goals this year, I'm not where I want to be. You are exactly where you need to be, because the whole world has been asked to take a deep breath this year, to put down all the striving and the pushing and just live for a little while. And in that living, we get to sit and have a good look at how you are showing up in the world. And I think it was a great gift, not COVID. I think a great gift was time to just live, time to be simple, time to see how we could rise above individually and together to make this world a more loving place. And so that's what I've been doing this year. I've been living and looking, having more time.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, more time to to be more conscious about preparing meals or just doing anything in a more loving way.
And they're just little things, but easy to implement, isn't it? It's about caring for self.
Yeah.
And they're all little tools that we can implement easily. And I think that sometimes can, for many people, it's starting the journey and saying, oh, this all sounds great, but how do I implement it without feeling like it's a bit overwhelming? And I think that's the beauty of your, what you share, Julie, is they're not hard things.
It's one thought, one feeling, one reaction at a time. And the rewards are to live in harmony, no matter what you do, no matter the triggers just go. And even something could go wrong and you just go, oh, look at that. Well, I wonder how I use my creativity to solve this problem. Because as you become more loving, your creativity expands and you find creative solutions to problems really fast. And the other really cool thing that happens is that you actually don't have to work on manifesting. You think and it shows up. And I'm not talking about thinking about cars or houses or any of that sort of manifesting. I'm talking about day-to-day life manifesting, like, oh, I would really like a new top. And all of a sudden a friend rings you and says, oh, I'm having a big clothes clean out. Come around. And you go around and you find the top. And not because you worked on it, just because you had that thought, and because you're creating and your force field is open and loving, something comes in. It's like, it's not even the universe sending it to you, it's just you're a match to something. Something matches. So you're not waiting for the universe to give you things, you're kind of finding them with your own little radar. And it becomes really, really cool. I get bags and bags of organic produce at my front door. I don't even know who it comes from. A bag of lemons will be, I open up my front door to walk my dog and there'll be a bag of lemons there. Or a bunch of herbs or a bag of fruit. And at the moment we're in fruiting season and I'm going, oh, this is going to be fun. It just shows up without effort. And that's a very joyful way to live. And it makes you feel safe and secure, even if you don't have much. Can I just say, when I went through this journey, I had nothing. I didn't have the financial resources to pay $3,000 for a course. I couldn't pay for counselling. I was battling to survive with 2 children who I was responsible for when I was feeling depressed and miserable and had terrible anxiety and didn't know where my future was going. So I had to learn how to do this myself because I couldn't pay other people to help me. So a book is a great way to start because it's not a lot of money. Okay? But I have created, I call it a self-love course, but it's really a journey. And it's a journey that takes 12 months where people can actually learn more about these tools and they can show up to a live chat like this and they can learn more deeply how to use the tools and have someone to listen to for 12 months as they start learning how to clean their energy. And I haven't priced it very expensive because if anyone's like me and they're going through this journey, they're probably emptying a lot of things out and they mightn't have a lot of resources. So a lot of what I have is very well priced, it's very available, and it comes from a genuine place of wanting to help people.
And you can see that with you. And, I know since I first met you, Julie, that's always been your motivator is to, you always share your knowledge and you're so generous. And, that's something that, struck me when I first met you is your knowledge is amazing and you're just so readily available to share that with people. And I think that's such a gift to the world and to all of those that, are maybe wanting that guidance, to know that somebody like yourself, you're sharing that you've been there, and you have you had those experiences that many, can relate to or have had similar. And I think that I'm so excited to see you on this journey and helping those along the way, because it's, people need that. And especially right now. And I feel like this year, we've really been shown this year what we need to work on, or what we maybe want to work on but haven't realized it up until now. And like you say, we've been, pulled back to be able to dig a bit deeper. So I think a lot of people will be putting their hand up for that, because I know just, in my work, there's so many people that are having realizations now. And in the hindsight of 2020 has been, wow, we've realized these things about us personally, about ourselves. And we've, started to learn that we don't want to carry things on, from here forward. It's almost like energetically we've been made to go, hang on, what's serving us and what isn't serving us? And that's pretty
Follow the
powerful.
path to love. Follow the path to love. And really, the work, when you move an emotion that you've been carrying in your energy field for a long time, joy comes behind it. Okay? So I know people talk a lot about you've got to do the work, you've got to do it. I don't think so. I just want to empty that stuff out to get to the love that's underneath. It's a much lighter way to go about it. Yes, there will be moments where you feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But the quicker you work through that or experience it, I guess this is really like, experience it. This is part of being a human, living in this dualistic world where you've got the hot, the cold, the dark, the light. It's both. So if you embrace both these sides, you're going to balance quicker. And in that middle, love is the balancer between all of the ups and downs that we experience. So I assure you, love is the key to higher dimensions of love. Love is the key to the universe, actually. If you want to experience all this etheric energy, which is loving and feeding and sustaining, you have to let that force field go. Because what's on the other side? It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And so worth it, isn't it? Like that.
Yeah.
And it's also about connecting to that feeling, isn't it? If you haven't had that unconditional, like that, there's so much power to unconditional love.
There certainly is. Yeah. And people who walk in unconditional love actually don't do much. They just shine. Seriously. They don't have to work at it. It becomes who they are. I don't know if any of your listeners have seen the Dalai Lama, but I know a girl who actually looked after him on one of his tours here. She was there to make sure he had meals and whatever he needed. And she said he just radiated. She was standing like 10 feet away from him and she could just feel the love coming from him. And it wasn't that he was really saying anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's power, isn't it? Like that is, and that's powerful. And I think, if you can carry that with you, that you're also, it's not just about you that ripple effect to others around you, isn't it? Is the power as well.
People don't tend to argue with love. But when I say love, I mean unconditional love. I don't mean conditional love. People are having wars around the world because of conditional love. They love their country, they love their cause, but it's not really very loving. Yep. So
I think that's great. That's one thing I've learnt today is to that's so powerful to think of, when you're in that moment, to ask yourself, is this loving?
Is this loving?
Just those words. That is so powerful.
Yeah. And I'm going to, I don't know how long you've got to go, but from my perspective, I can wrap this up with, I call it an interview with love. If you were to imagine love being unconditional love, just shining at you as an example, and you get triggered, have an interview with love. And so question yourself around this love. And the questions are, what am I thinking? Write it down. What am I feeling? Write it down. What am I defending? Because then you'll know the attitudes of the ego. What am I defending? What am I fighting for? Yeah.
So in that, like if someone was to say, okay, what am I defending? Could there be aspects of like, all right, I'm defending my old story? Could that be like I'm defending, which I suppose then would you then dig deeper and it would come up that the need to be right, or the need to be acknowledged, or the need to...
I'm offended. They shouldn't treat me that way. I'm offended. So you're still fighting for that. You're fighting for that's, they're wrong and I'm right type of thing. Yeah. Because love is never offended. Love just goes, well, look at that. That person acted in a very unloving way. And love, no. So what happens? Love at the higher level starts to understand that someone isn't operating from that level, and they'll want to demonstrate it even more to show them the way. So it's like you find these little dark pockets that can't find their way to the light. So you shine the light so that they know which way to go, because eventually everything will blend back into a higher field of love. That's ascension, blending everything back into a higher field of love. So shine a light on that pocket of darkness and know that that's very purposeful to bring that more into light. Now, the last question, so what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I defending? And then the last one is, how am I treating myself? Because often when we get triggered, we go and do the unhealthy practice, not the person who triggered us. We go and have a glass of wine, or we go and over-exercise, or we go and eat a block of chocolate, or we hibernate and shut off, or we disconnect communication, which really hurts us. So how am I treating myself is a very important question to ask as well. And that's the interview with love process. And that's how you're going to learn what in you is not loving, and that will help you to go to that section of the book or my course, and you just start cleaning that part up. So it's not like you need to do this chronologically. You do it from what gets triggered. And that's because your soul's sending it to you to be cleaned up. Clean up this. But I'm in the middle of a really busy work day, or I'm just about to get on a plane. Well, guess what? You're going to clean it up now. Never a time.
That's so true. It's often in the most inconvenient time where things like that happen. But it's also like the synchronicities, which I love. And, we've had some amazing comments. So thank you all for commenting on the feed today. But it's, if you're listening to this and there's something that there's, purposely people are need to hear this message. And it's like, that's how the universe works, is like there'll be things that Julie's sharing that people are like, oh, loving this, this is great. This is really resonating. And that's so powerful to know you're not here by coincidence. You're here to listen. You're here listening because there's so much knowledge in this. And I love the way you explain things, Julie. You keep it simple, and it's so cool. And those writing down those points,
being willing to do it. Now if my eyes are darting around, I'm collecting some of these comments as they come up, and there's been these comments about cleaning out the attic, the garage, from Kathy. Thank you, Kathy, because it's a bit of a sign. When you start cleaning up your energy fields, you'll start wanting to clean out your cupboards.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely.
Because you'll just want to get rid of what you want to discard and get rid of clutter, whether it's mental clutter, emotional clutter, physical clutter. And this can sometimes be a place to start. If you're feeling heavy and stuck, go clean out a cupboard. Don't try and clean out the whole house, because that'll overwhelm you. Just pick one cupboard and clean it up, or clean up the files on your computer. Just clean something up, because cleaning something up physically starts to help you to clean up your thoughts or your feelings. So as you're cleaning something up, as you're cleaning up a cupboard and thoughts are coming in your head, clean your thoughts as you go. So you start to learn to clean, is this thought loving or not? Discard it. Think about chucking it in the trash can. On my computer, I've got an Apple computer, and I love the emptying trash sound. It's a sound of paper crunching up. And I love emptying the trash can. I empty it every day on my computer, and I'm like, yes, that's a good lot of work done then. And so in the middle of the night, if I can't sleep and thoughts are running around in my head, I'll go to that thought and say, that's not a loving thought. Chuck it in the trash can. And I imagine hearing.
I love that.
That's how simple these techniques can be. They can be really simple. Sometimes I'll be out walking my dog and I'll have something come into my mind that I know is not loving, and I'll imagine a rubber in my mind and I just rub it out. So I assure you, you can get on top of your thoughts with a lot of these little simple tools. But yeah, clean out the cupboard. How good do you feel when you clean out a cupboard?
I love it. I love it. And I've found that this year. And I found, like, being at home, you know, instead of, like, I'm normally on the road a lot, it made me, you know, when I was sitting in a space, go, this feels cluttered. It feels stagnant. I have to do that. And so for me, massive, you know, even inside we've got a big open area, and I was like, I just cleared out stuff. So it looks very minimalist, but I love it. It makes it easy to clean. I walk in, I feel fresh, and I agree with you 100%. It's the clutter. Like even if I walk in somewhere and there's lots of clutter, I probably was the old past me was, you know, I love to hoard things, but you don't realize until you let that go that how much the mental clarity that comes along with that. And I can totally vouch for that 100%.
I have to say, everything you just said brought me so much joy, because I think that's the way, bring that attitude to cleaning up your energy fields rather than it's a whole lot of work. It's like, I cleaned out my cupboard. I loved it. Right? Exactly.
Yes.
Love is the word. I loved it because it made me feel good. That's what happens when you clean up your energy. You're going to love it. Yes, like I said, it can be a little bit, you know, when you start cleaning out a cupboard, you're like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, all this stuff, I feel terrible. And then as you get going, you feel better and better and better. And at the end, you love it. So that's the way to approach it. I love it, Tonia.
And I have kept doing that. And I find, like, now it's even inspired me. Like I like to be outside more than inside, but I have committed now to, you know, each in the kitchen, all the sliding drawers that collect stuff, you know, it's like I make a thing of one I do, you know, every second day I clear out one as my little thing. And it becomes kind of like addictive to do, and something that I've never been ever wanting to incline to do is now part of a practice that I've put in place. And it helps me feel good. So when it makes you feel good, you can't not do it.
Well, there you go. That's the emptying out process. Yeah.
So very powerful.
Of looking at everything that is within you and deciding, is this worth it or not? Is it loving or not? Am I going to keep it or not? And then learn the tools from the book and just slowly over a period of time to start using them. Yeah.
Love it. All right. So we're just about at our wrap-up time. Thank you so much, Julie. It has been amazing, as always. I absolutely love connecting with you, and I always can't help but walk away going, oh, I've learned so much from Julie, and I can't more highly recommend your book. It is amazing, and it does capture all that information that you've shared today. And Scott has put the link up. Hi, Scott. Scott said hello earlier. We missed saying g'day. But the link is there for anyone that wants to jump on board. Great Christmas present for yourself. Don't worry about everyone else. Just get, you know, or get some for others as well. But definitely this is a book you would want to get and keep in you. You wouldn't be lending it out.
No,
Keep using it.
It's a book to go into the new year with. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people go on diets in the new year. I'm going to suggest that in the year coming, this time, you actually make it about your soul and you start the year cleaning up your soul. And I'd be surprised after a few months whether you're not dropping body fat anyway, because you're lightening up at a soul level and at a mental level and at a spiritual level. So, you know, I am also a wellness coach, but I'm suggesting this year or this time in new year, try something different. Get the book, sit quietly with it. And if you like the book, have a look at doing the course, which will take you through the whole year. It's on my website, julierennie.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. And I have no doubt there'll be people jumping on board with that. And that's so lovely for you to share that, and for opportunity for many of us that, you know, we all have areas that we could be loving ourselves more in, definitely. So that's a fantastic reminder. And I know I've loved reading the book, so I can't more highly recommend it. And thank you everyone for sharing today, jumping on, saying g'day. We love it. Please share the interview so that we can spread Julie's message, because it is a massively important one that I think, you know, everyone needs to hear. And thank you so much, Julie, for, you know, once again sharing your amazing knowledge. And we love having you on. So thank you for taking time out of your day to join us.
Be loving, everyone. Be loving.
Thank you, Julie. Take care, everyone, and I will see you again next week.
Bye.
And bye. Isn't it funny? I'm hitting the end broadcast and it's going, no, I don't want to end. Isn't that funny? Even the computer's resonating.
Oh, I connected. Bye.
Bye for now.